Welcome back, everybody, to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. My name is Heather Crimson, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Vanessa Baldwin. And today we have a very exciting guest. I am happy to have Gregory Glick here today. And Gregory his business is Coherence Sound Therapy, and he is a Biofield tuning, energy, and lifestyle medicine practitioner. He has had a very long and very interesting journey from a near-death experience to allopathic medicine and now to energy medicine. So welcome to the show, Greg. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
excited.
Yes. And so I'm particularly interested in knowing a little bit. I guess I want to ask you from a spiritual perspective to start off, how you see your unfolding. In other words, how did you go from the horrible accident that you had, which when you just said that you ride your bike to work, to me, it's like, wow, that's impressive, right? To have an awful bike accident and then having that near-death experience and then allopathic medicine for a long time, I think you said 17 years, to now doing energy medicine.
So yeah, it's been an evolution.
Mm.
Um, the the so the near-death experience, I didn't remember for the first 10 years.
Oh.
It came to me as a vision in a Reiki session,
Mm.
and it was, yeah, it was profound. And so that I do think that was it was part of both of these things. And I guess there is this spiritual piece because you all are probably aware, like the rest of everybody, that there's this crazy divisiveness going on. I think it's in this country, but it feels like in the world, and particularly those who are connected to the internet. And that I feel like I'm a bridge builder, and okay. I get the allopathic thing. I did that, and of- obviously I chose to leave,
Right.
and chose to leave with not small amount of risk in the sense of, okay, it's not. I had stepped into the unknown. The spiritual piece of it, um, yeah, the spirit. I mean, I think we're following that. Jenny and I, when I say we, um, like our move to Mexico, we sold everything and including our everything. Put a few things in storage and went to Mexico, and
Mm.
in doing that, we ended up. I mean, that was a huge shift, and that's part of that was another step into the, oh, I couldn't practice medicine in Mexico. And
Mm.
so I became a health coach. And then I got in touch with the data, like, oh crap, they fed me some fraction of the data. And then I found the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and went through a lot of training with them. And it was like, oh, okay, so all of the stuff that it seemed like was lifestyle mediated, like diabetes and hypertension and cholesterol and all those things that are in my practical experience, it seemed like that was true. And then I saw the data, and then it was like I was quite honestly, and this kind of takes me away from the spiritual piece, but I was pissed. I was angry. I was like,
Mhm.
what in the f did you do to me? And then in terms of, okay, we then came back. There was a little cartel kerfuffle and a little too much proximity to cartel. That's just,
Um,
yeah, that's just part of it. Uh,
yeah.
the chill vibe of Mexico vanished when there's neighbors and cartel and like, ugh, there's nothing. I don't really want to go surfing. I don't really want to drive around hardly. I just want to get out of here. So
Did you guys go from like this Zen kind of beautiful, luxuriating in the all the Mexico had to offer to like, oh shit, we need to get out of here quickly. That's a lot.
well, yeah, we did. We came home. We had just taken a trip to Oaxaca
Hmm.
and gotten a bunch of textiles and some curtains for our house. We had literally hung the last curtain. It was Sunday night. The next day, Monday morning, we find out from my friend, the property manager, because I worked closely with him. I was the treasurer for the HOA board. So I went down to the office all the time to look over books and look at how we're spending money and what's happening and what's coming up. And so I call my friend Diego and I say, "¿Qué onda, güey?" Like because he which means what's going on, dude? Because he had given us 2 weeks notice after
Oh,
working for us for 14 years.
wow.
He literally like tendered his resignation with 2 weeks notice, and I was like, what in the blazes is going on?" And he said, "Well, me being I received a threat. Somebody showed up to my office, and they said, 'It's not just you we're looking at. We now know where you work. We'll soon know where you live. It's you and it's your family.'" And yeah, and he said, and so he did what a good Mexican does. He talked to his socios, and he has socios in all respective places, parts of the world, and he said, he asked the question, "Is a threat? Is it valid? Is it, you know, is it?" And they said yes, and so he said, "Okay, I'm out." Shortly after that, the president of the HOA says to me, "Hey, Glick, how about you take over the on-site management?"
I see that
And I
too.
said, "No, thank you." And I tendered my resignation effective immediately. And within 9 days, Jenny was on a flight, I was in my truck, and we rolled
Yeah,
Wow.
and put
sounds
the
like a
house
good
on the
idea.
market and sold the house. And like I literally could see my surf break from the porch we had built on the back of the house. It was like, oh, this.
Yeah, it's hard to leave that. It's hard to leave that. Yeah.
And back to your question, honestly, my life was much more chill than Jenny's. Jenny was still doing like discovery calls, and she was hustling to afford us that lifestyle, and I like had generaled the house, and I had been getting the kid through high school and such, but so it was much more chill for me. And
Hmm.
and then it was not chill at all because I was like, how do I keep my wife safe if I need to go run an errand? Or how do I, what if,
Right.
because the cartel guys were right down the way. And the men who worked there, who I all knew and were my friends, they're like, stay away from those guys. They're trouble. They had told me, and I was like, yeah, there's, and the lady was borderline. She was legit, like, not healthy. She, and so it could have gone all manner sideways. And we had stopped her construction project because she didn't give us plans, was the other convoluted piece of it. So I was like, no,
Mm.
this is not good.
Mm.
Wow.
So I want to come back to the spiritual question you asked.
Okay.
Um, when I got back to the States, no, actually, it was in Mexico. I went to a Dispenza meditation retreat, and
Mm.
I'm doing a walking meditation on the beach, and wondering why all these people are acting so weird and like falling over and not hardly being able to walk. And then we're doing this thing called the noble walk, and I'm pulling energy up through my body, and I get a little woozy. I'm like, wow, that's weird. And then I I pull the energy up, and all of a sudden I'm out, and I am up. I'm about 10 feet above my body. I see myself hit the ground, the sand. I was like, damn. And
Really?
you really? And then I pop back in, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll get up and meditate some more. Do the walking meditation. I start to stand up. Somebody comes over and she gently lays a hand on my chest and says,
Mm.
no, just stay right there. I said, but I'm meditating. And she says, no, no, just chill out. So I
Mm.
chill, and then I start to shake
Mm.
uncontrollably. And
Wow.
that happened when I had the vision from the near death experience. I shook a lot too. I guess I'm charismatic when it comes to all that sort of thing. Like I couldn't get up, shake, and
Mm.
it was the sun was going down. I couldn't see it, but it was because it was behind us. But and by the time I could get up, the water was occasionally splashing on my feet. By the time I could get up, I was like chest high water,
Wow.
and um, it was completely pitch black. This woman had stayed with me the whole time, thank goodness.
Wow.
Um, and it was all, I think it was all that accident trauma
Yeah, moving through your body. Yeah.
shaking off.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Because
I
it's
was,
a similar experience, right? So your body's like reliving it, removing through it, and letting it all. Wow. That's
yeah.
great.
And then the next day, back to more spirit. I'm in this long meditation that Dispenza likes to do. The pineal gland, he does this it was like, I don't know, it was like 5 hours or something. It was a really long time. Yeah, yeah. Whereas it's not all just sitting. It was sitting, laying down, yeah. But I like had this experience where I touched the oneness or became more like what I saw vision wise was this massive beam of bluish white light pouring into me. And
Mm,
I'm not sure if that's really what happened or if it was pouring out of me. I don't know, but it connected, and it was love.
mm,
It was this.
mm.
It was like, and it was so much that it was slopping over my heart, and like because there's so much you don't. It's not like you have to hold on. It's like just pouring in and slopping, and like it was beautiful, and it was just love. And when I got up from that, the guy next to me says, wow, dude, you really went there, or something like that. And I was like, I don't know what he experienced. I know what I experienced. I was like, yeah. And then I gave somebody a hug, and she said, whoa, because it was just beaming out of me. The love
Right.
was,
Yeah.
and wow, yeah, it was. So that was another step. And then I did another Dispenza and had some more Dispenza like experiences, me and my charismatic self. And I was back in the States at that point and working in a integrative medicine clinic,
So
but
you did return back to being a physician's assistant, but in a bit more of a holistic office setting, right?
a bit more sort of. I
Yeah.
mean, I think if you're working on a license, what I've found, I mean, it was integrative, and which basically means they moved from pushing pharmaceuticals to pushing supplements.
Right.
Right. So
That was his
it's
model.
really kind of similar in a way.
I think if you follow the money, it's exactly the same. Because
Exactly. That's my exact thought, right? You're
I mean,
right.
I've heard people say I haven't really done the deep dive, but it kind of makes sense. Like pharmaceutical, oh, not everybody wants this form of our stuff. Well, let's get in the game of supplements, and they've got money. They can set up a new company.
Well,
So
there's big money in that for sure.
it's the little pharma, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to big pharma.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Way to put it.
and I
But
was
it's a less toxic form of, of that. So, it's a better form than pharmaceuticals. So,
uh, yeah, I think there's the side effect profile is probably better.
yes.
Um, it's funny. I wonder if it's less. There's a part of me that wonders if it's less toxic because of
Mm,
the onus for expenditure falls on the individual, and
hmm.
there's no insurance coverage, and so it's the consumer almost more directly, and then the people who are selling that, like what I saw in this office, they had 100% markup, and like, well, how is that? Where's the benefit to your people if
Mm-mm.
you like that it's tricky, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
And it's not a pharmaceutical drug with a litany of effects.
Mm-mm.
And notice I don't say side effects. I don't think there's a side effect. They're all effects. That's been the conclusion I've come to is you take a drug, you're going to have one of 100 effects or 25 of 100 effects, and you don't know which ones they are because we're complex and we're all biologically not, none of us are biologically identical. And so you pick your poison, as it were, when you take your pharma medicine. But anyway, so I did another dispensa thing, and when I came back from this retreat, I kept meditating a lot and having experiences. And like I'd get up out of meditation, okay, I'm done meditating. I'd start walking out of our bedroom, and like it it's powerful. I'd like, oh, I'm not done meditating, and I'd hit the floor. Like that happened to me a few times. Like literally, like, oh, okay, I'm like I still when I go deep, I don't shake as much as I used to, but I in those days I was, and I started having more and more experiences. And one of those experiences was a day when Jenny had a meeting with a woman, and I woke up and I was like, wow. I think it was actually before I meditated, or no, it was after I meditated. I was like, I had this experience where I was visited by aliens, and and sorry, I know this maybe sounds crazy, but it's really what happened. I was like, wow, I got visited by aliens, and they touched my third eye and they touched my heart, and I
Mm,
showed her, and she felt it. and
Mhm.
felt me opening her energy centers, and she was like, "What are you doing to me?" And that day she had, I was like, "Sorry, I didn't mean I was just showing you what happened," and I guess I was doing it. And so I was like, "Wow, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need to learn what this is." And
Yeah.
so that I joined a course with somebody who has an energy medicine. It's called Energy Healing Institute, and took a course, and then came into later frequency through another series of serendipities. Yeah, it's been for sure spiritual, because I'm like, I opened a spirit, and I've had all these mystical experiences now, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just I guess how I
So
roll.
you obviously, Greg, are able to really open to, be a,
Yes.
what's the right word?
Receive
Yeah.
information.
There's
Like
a word I'm thinking of, like you can receive
Conduit.
conduit, thank you, energy and, people feel it moving through you. And eventually you found your way to Eileen McCusick's work, right?
Yep,
And
right.
you've been training directly with her.
Yeah, I've been through every level of training they offer. Um, that started because my mother-in-law mentioned to Jenny and I, said if she's an energy worker and has been for 3 decades, does craniosacral and motion
mm,
code and body code and such. And
Mm.
she said, yeah, if I was going to do something else, I would do frequency, and I'd do it with Eileen. So
Mm.
Jenny immediately goes out and buys a set of tuning forks, like a like a like Jenny, the yes lady.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I we got the tuning forks, and I started playing with them. Literally, I was just like, like, okay, let's see what happens. Tuning forks in a hockey puck, and I'm like sitting with the energy, and I'm already doing energy work, and I'm like, whoa, I don't know what these things are, but it's like magic, right? I mean, is what it felt like to me. And and so within, I don't know, days of that, I signed up for the first online training, and then finished that, and then right after that, got the 20 practice clients, and did the next online. Neither of those were with Eileen. Then like the next summer later, I went to an in person in San Diego, 2023, and then last summer um, I went up to New Hampshire at their home base for Biofield tuning with Eileen. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's so. I mean, I feel like how Eileen is approaching energy is she's trying to bring science into it, and
Mhm.
like Dispenza is trying to bring science into. I mean, because there is science in what. Um, I mean, we are a bunch of, like, we're vibrating particles, all of us. That's all we are fundamentally, right?
mhm.
And so frequency, of course, it affects us.
Mhm.
And I think, that it's one can be really super powerful or not, and yet if the person is really available, because how I see it is the person is the healer in the room, not me. I'm just a conduit, right? I'm just I'm helping the process. But if somebody opens, oh yeah, they'll change, and they'll heal in a sense, or maybe reset back to their divine settings.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I just want to point out, in case anybody doesn't know, Greg is married to Jenny, who is also on our podcast. So if you hear us referring to him, referring to Jenny, go
Thank
back
you.
and listen to Jenny's podcast that was on Jenny Glick. That was a great podcast. So go back and scroll back. That was a great podcast. We had her on a while back. So if you're wondering about that connection, just so you know, that's what it is. And I'm wondering, like, do you think that everybody can access this ability, Greg, or do you think that certain people are more intuitive or capable of it? Because there are people who are like, who just have struggle just sitting still and meditating, right? Or just doing that. And like, they don't really feel the energy or they don't understand energy, right? So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts around that? And do you think that there are some people who are more capable, or we all have this capability, but we're just not tuned into it because we're so disconnected from ourselves? So I'm wondering what your thoughts are there.
I think we all have an ability.
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go in the world of clairs, okay, there is clairvoyance, there is precog, there are all kinds of things that are poo-pooed and thought of as, oh, that's not real, or that's woo, or that's whatever. And then then you meet somebody who does it, right? Like in my world now, that lots of people walk around and not only they're expressing those gifts and honing them and refining them. So yes, I think everybody has the possibility, and it's a skill. And if
Mhm.
you want to have a skill, you practice at it. And what we've practiced at because of our society, I mean, think about when little kids are talking to their imaginary friends.
Yep.
Well, are they really imaginary? Or, yeah, right. Are they right there and they're talking to somebody and we just can't see them because we've shut down our sight?
Right.
I,
Kids
I
are
think,
way more in tune to those things than adults, for
mhm,
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
The yeah, so I feel like everybody has some ability now. It comes in different ways for different people, and we have
Mm.
different strengths. For me, like in biofield tuning, when I do sessions, there's a place in the biofield anatomy, which is about 10 inches off of you, that there's this, we call it the
Mhm.
ancestral river. And some people see
Mm.
ancestors in there.
Mhm.
I have seen that. The first time it really opened for me, I saw all of Jenny's maternal ancestors stretching from her out to the mountains,
Wow.
and they're all in like this overwhelming support of her. And normally I don't have I'm not particularly visionary. I don't it doesn't really come on for me that way.
Mm.
It usually comes as words. Like I have these words drop in,
Mhm.
and to either a group or to an individual, and it has some oftentimes maybe in the moment or maybe later some meaning to them. But I feel like I'm the conduit, and what I'm coming to understand is that like that's one of my gifts. Okay, I think it's claircognizance, or it's like it's this. Eileen calls it the mail slot where things drop in,
Mm.
um, and when I first did it, I was like, do I really share this? Am I making this up, or is this coming out of me, or is this? And so nowadays I like pendulum test with my body to see, okay, is this right? Um, and yeah, it's something else. Like, and I think it's their higher self or your higher self, if it was you,
Mhm.
having a session, speaking through me back to you to
Mhm,
to
mhm.
maybe say it comes in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's like guidance. Sometimes it's a warning. That's happened a couple of times. Sometimes it's wow, look at these beautiful things in you, and maybe something that you don't even know is or you don't necessarily associate with.
Mm.
Wow. How would you describe, Greg, to somebody who knows nothing about energy medicine or biofield tuning or coherence therapy and all of that in a couple sentences, what it is that you do?
I use sound to help people feel better.
Oh, I love that. So,
So
so
simple
pure
and
and
perfect.
concise. I know.
And there's a follow-up to that. Well,
Yes.
as we walk through the world, we get what I say to people is cattywampus, right? We get swayed off our center by, the scroll or your feed or your
Mhm.
or the driver who cuts you off in traffic and then flips you off, or the person being rude to you in the line at the grocery, whatever it is, all kinds of
Mhm.
ways that we can be swayed off our true center, and that's an energetic that can become an energetic pattern in you, or you can hold on to it. I mean, you've probably had an intense event where you run it through, run it around in your mind and you chew on it for a while. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, right. Yeah, uh-huh. We all have done that.
Mhm.
Well, that's an energetic stuck energy out here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Bring frequency into that, and that energy is forgotten. It looks like a tangle of energy. It's not
Mhm.
a waveform anymore. It's more solid. And
Yeah.
so you bring frequency into it, and it remembers it's a wave, and it comes into waveform.
Oh.
Nice.
And as it comes into waveform, the memories of that, those are biophotons, they
Mhm.
bubble up and off. And I use the fork as a broom, basically, and we call it combing or sweeping, and I bring it back in a
Mm.
shamanistic way
Oh,
to you and back into usually it's a chakra I'm working on. Might be a half step between chakras, but usually oftentimes it's a chakra. Bring it back, and it's alchemized, so it's not that old
mhm.
stuck kind of yucky energy. It's new and fresh and alive, and so it comes back. and gets dropped back into the chakra. Sometimes during the tuning, sometimes at the end you bring back a bunch of, and it's both of those things. I'll hit something and it'll release, and it'll just like the fork will want to pull over to bring, or the energy will want to come back. Yeah, it's weird. Like when you're in the field, I've been pushed like to the edge of a wall, literally. Like,
Wow.
okay, I need to be out here. I guess I'm going back through, and then yeah,
Kind of reminds me of dowsing, it's
Mm.
finding
it
the
is.
frequency
It,
of the water. What do you
mhm.
do for people like I have gut issues or somebody who has like interstitial cystitis or those kinds of things? Like people come to you for physical things, but you're really looking at the energetics of how their
Your bio,
stuckness.
like
Yeah.
a biofield, right?
Well, you do. Okay, so there's I guess three parts of what I do. Okay, I live in the average age of the community where I work is 72. So it's retirement, mostly retire, and there's another younger community kind of next door to it. Um, but so a lot of those people have stories. We all have stories, but their stories happen to be maybe longer. Sometimes they're longer. Um, and so my visits are long. My visits are an hour or hour and a half. That's how, like, I started off doing it that way, and I was like, okay, and then it seems to fit this population. So I'll tell people, and so I sit with people and witness their story,
Yeah.
and I'll oftentimes ring a fork. Actually, I might do that right now because I can ring forks while we're doing it, and we'll just kind of tune over this whole conversation if you want.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
okay, I'll go get a fork in a second. So I I'm in presence with them, and then if the story is going too long, I'll say, okay, we need a transition, get you on the table, and then we get folks on the table where I'm gonna turn my computer so you can see this. So
Oh, oh my gosh, how
this
beautiful.
this is
Oh
my
yeah, what a beautiful
studio.
space.
Mm,
Thank you.
I
We
love
have
it.
another sound healer friend who's also an interior designer, and she helped. She was the vision. I'm really good with a drill and a hammer drill and a paintbrush, and she was really good with vision, and I did it. She's like, okay, do this okay, got it, can do.
Is that Emily?
Emily, yeah, Emily Dukes, yep,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
okay.
beautiful. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah,
So
makes me want to
down
come
here
over
at
and
the,
hang out with Greg.
say that
Oh,
again?
your gong is right
I
there.
said
Yeah,
I'd like to come
so
over and hang out and get a session. It looks
for
great.
sure, come on out. Too bad it's lovely this time of year. It's gonna
Look at
be
this.
81 today.
Oh,
Ah,
Yeah, yeah, I know, it's lovely. So here's the gong, and
is that from Grotto Sonora?
Grata Sonora, yes, yeah. We brought back four when we came home, and they're portals. And I use gong, bowls, and then forks.
if you're not joining us on YouTube, you might want to join us on YouTube and watch so you could see the space and the tools that Greg is using.
Mhm.
And Eileen talks a lot about breath.
Mhm.
Um, and whenever I tune and whenever, I work with energy, I feel like breath helps it to move.
Mhm.
And I always come back to, okay, I got hit by a car doing 40. I was on a bicycle, and the last thing I sort of remember, I don't know, I have the feeling of it was the first, there was the, oh shit, I can't get out of the way, and then what do you do if for you, like, if you're like, oh, something's coming, what does everybody do?
Great. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
brace.
Oh yeah, you brace.
Where's
Yeah.
the exhale?
Mhm.
And that's how trauma gets stuck.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so that's the next thing. So you have the conversation, and I encourage people to breathe and watch them. And I talk about breath and get the breath moving, because that starts to loosen it up, starts to loosen the trauma up. And then you get them on the table and you get vibration. So you ask two things. You work in the field. Well, I also work in the body. And I gotta jump over and get a weighted fork so you can see that too. It's like show and tell.
I like it.
So forks come in two varieties. They come in weighted, which have little weights
Oh,
on the end, and they
okay.
come in unweighted. These two forks, I know they are different. They're different sizes, but they're the same hertz. They're 144 hertz.
Okay.
And when you ring a weighted fork, it doesn't make much noise. You maybe can't hear that at all, but if you get close, you see it's vibrating. I'll ring it again,
Hmm.
so maybe you can see that.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can see it.
Okay.
Yep.
With an unweighted fork, it makes sound,
Mm.
and that's 144 hertz. That's the sound of it. Now, if somebody comes, like I do a lot of tabling at a farmer's market because there's a farmer's market outside of my space. That's
Mm.
that was my marketing plan because I was like, okay, it's not as busy as I want it to be. How do I get it busier? Well, I got to get in front of more people. Oh, here's a space on a farmer's market. All right. And so I pulled the trigger, got this space, and I spend 4 hours a week out front. Well, really five. Um, and I talk to usually dozens of people and put forks on a lot of them. And people come up and like, okay, again, 72 years old, who doesn't have a body ache? It seems like not everybody, but lots of people have some
Most,
body
yeah.
ache. Oh, my knee, oh, my shoulder, oh, my hip. And I'll put forks on them for maybe a minute. I also do a little, like I do one-off sessions there, 15-minute focus session. And even with a minute or two, people are like, my shoulder doesn't hurt like it did.
Mm.
My hip feels
Mhm.
better. And then they make, and then they make appointments. And so my marketing strategy is working. Um,
Brilliant.
whew, okay, the bills are covered and there's some extra. Okay, I'm feeling rather flush. And the and people are, but then that's not the extent of it because yeah, I work, if somebody comes in for a session, there's some different techniques we have on the body work, but then I'll work out in the field and get into whatever it is. We all have trauma, and some of it's stored in your field, and I'll move through that and bring it back, bring it home, and people routinely get off the table saying two things. Oh, I feel really relaxed. And they also say I feel lighter.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yeah, lighter, that's a good one. Yeah. Like you released. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and is it lighter because of that, or is it lighter because they aren't putting energy into keeping it alive, or is it
Well,
lighter because
mm,
it's energy in the electromagnetic spectrum that
Mhm.
came back to
mm,
them? Yes, I think. I
mm,
think it's all those things. I think, oh yeah, we're
yeah.
lighter because you're more light, and you're more, back to the name of my business, you're more coherent. I bring people into coherence with your true
Mm,
self.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Because
there's
there's
the
no longer like a distortion in their field or energy that has been cut off and not integrated and metabolized. So overall, then the coherence is right, that things aren't out of whack, so to speak.
exactly right. Dissonant, like
This,
going from dissonance to coherence.
yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you notice? I know you've worked with horses sometime
Mhm.
recently, and tell me about like how that experience is for you versus working with human mammals.
So yeah, wow, horses are amazing. They just as energetic beings, wow, they're so big and powerful and so communicative um, and they're wildly receptive. Like I've got a number of horse people that comes, sorry the term, but I think they refer to themselves that way too. Horse people. Um, they um, they come see me for themselves, and we're gonna have to get you out to work with our horses. And so finally, I said yes, and so horses have they're definitely have personalities. And if you've been around horses, I grew up on a ranch in out in Vail, Arizona, so I get the horse thing. I do that. They were free ranging horses on the ranch all the time. That was just the
Mm.
deal. That's where I grew up. The cowboy that was at the ranch, he was the real deal cowboy. He drove cattle from Wyoming to Kansas on cattle
Wow.
drives. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
my question to the only name I ever knew him by was Slats. Yeah, no, he was legit, and my brother and I would always ask him, Slats, how old are you? And the only thing he ever said, the only way he ever responded was, damn near 100. So he like kind of he didn't really ever do a lot of teaching, as it were, but you watched him, and he kind of taught me about, oh, don't be around the wrong side of a horse, or if you do, let him know, or what have you, because he knew,
Mhm.
yeah, horses are, yeah, companions, and they were pets for him. Nobody rode them. We never rode in. I never saw anyone ride any of those horses. They were like,
Mhm.
but he was of that ethos. Horses are part of his family. So take that forward, and now like they get mistreated mostly by humans, right? um, and so they too can have stuck energy and have it show
Oh
up in a
yeah.
variety of ways, either physically in their body or in their field. And so all what I usually do is that gong, I'll bring it out and I'll
Mm.
gently ring a gong,
Mm.
and just to like warm them up. And sometimes it takes, I don't know, 20 minutes just gently ringing the gong and being around them. You get a sense from the horse. Each horse is different, um, and then I'll kind of read them energetically. Okay, so I do some of that energy reading of both people and all mammals, um, and check in like how, what part. And then the owners oftentimes will say, oh, they have this, that, or the other issue. um, Sometimes I'll know, I'll get a feel, oh, the heart, and like bring forks around both sides of the horse's body. And these are not horses I know, right? That's the thing that's also kind of curious. Like I I was tuning this one horse, and oh man, she was so sweet. And she wasn't like
Mm.
I mean, she's not small. She's probably 800-pound horse, but not that big. I mean, my head was over her back. Some of the other ones I've tuned have been like their back, their shoulder is above my head. They're big. Big. They talk about how many hands high. I don't know that lingo, but this horse, like I had gonged, and then I came in with some forks, and she was so gentle and so sweet, and I
Mm.
like brought forks around and just like was hugging her and putting
Mm.
activated tuning forks on both sides of her heart, and she was just like hanging with me and
Mm.
just being right there. Another
Hmm.
one, we'd finished the tuning, and he went out, relieved himself, came back in, and immediately goes over to the bag where I'd put the gong away. And he sticks his nose in there, and he's like
He
nosing
wanted more.
around. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, buddy. And I get the gong back out, and no halter. He's like right there up with me, gonging. And he actually, they like to put their lips on everything. I get horse baths when I work with horses. They lick. Oh my gosh, that's part of how they say they're relaxing. They lick and they chomp their lips and their teeth. And a lot of them like to feel, oh, what's this gong doing? They like to put their lips and feel the vibration of it. Sometimes their teeth.
Oh.
Um, and then they get freaked out because it makes a loud noise when it bangs against their teeth. But like that guy did that, he came over and he wanted to be there, and he rang the gong with his teeth a little, and I was like, okay, that's not so cool, is it? And he's like, oh yeah, the mallet's better. So yeah, it's it's uh, of the things I do, that's one of my favorites because I come home always super filled up. And somehow horses, I don't know what it is they do, but they give you energy and like
Mm.
fill you up is what it feels
Mm.
like. Like I receive as much, I mean I give, but I also, it's wild. It's a really really beautiful thing.
I was going to ask you that. Like, how is that experience? How is the experience for you? Do you feel like, when you're doing these tuning fork sessions or these, sound healing sessions with people, how does that land for you as the facilitator, like the space holder? And do you ever feel like you have to guard your energy at all, or how does that land for you?
Oh yeah. So I have an energy hygiene practice that I always go through. And this, my first training that was part of it. It was like, okay, you know, develop some sort of, like a lot of people talk about guides or call in ascended masters, and I do some of that stuff. But like I personally, I don't want to be blending energies. I want to be a conduit, and I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be giving you mine per se. I want the
Right.
energy to come in. Um, so so yeah, I I prepare in a way that, oh yeah, let's make sure that we're not blending. Like and I'll give you some specifics. I we have all these energy centers, chakras and nodis and that sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing in our bodies. Well, some of them I tend to, because I'm kind of empathic. I've tended to run my sacral energy center really open. So I tend to close it down most of the way, like 20% or something when I step up to the table. So I'm not sucking in their energy. I close off my
Mm-hmm.
wrist chakras so that it's running through my hands, not through me.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure I'm really grounded and connected to the earth. I grow roots down into the earth, and I put an auric boundary. It's permeable, but I put an auric boundary up to like, okay, let's, and it's as much for me, not, they don't need my stuff, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. That's like the energy. That's
Right.
the important thing. Like to bring them. Really, the experience is about them, and it also helps me. End of the day, I'm good. Like I used to when I did regular medicine, I was routinely needing to go take a big hard bike ride in order to shake off the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
from you sit in rooms. I mean, in those days, it wasn't. Yeah, I see maybe 5 or 6 people a day. But in those days, it was, if I saw 12, that was an easy day.
Yeah.
And a big day would be 1920. My highest day was 8 hour period was, I think it was 33. Um, and that was,
Wow.
How
and
exhausting. And like,
yeah, well, that's why all providers do is write prescriptions and get out of the room.
right, because they don't have the time or the energy to actually, do more than that. It's the system that's so
Yeah,
flawed. It
right.
just really aggravates me. But yeah, it's go ahead.
For sure, for sure. I mean, and
Mhm.
that's why people they're so hungry when they come in and they do have a story because nobody listens anymore.
Right, right. Nobody listened to their story, and being heard is healing, right?
Yes,
They need to
bingo,
be heard
bingo.
to be healed. Like that is so important. I mean, I see that in sessions as a homeopath, just sitting and having that space to like hold that energy, hold that space, allow them to share, allow them to express what they nobody's been able to sit and listen to them. Here's your time. It's like that people need that.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Woo!
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like it's funny because when I worked at the naturopath's office, the naturopath cum DO, um, eventually, like it got to the point of they wanted me on their treadmill, and
Hmm.
and and I was costing them too much, because I sat and I talked to people
Yeah.
Yep.
You're
when
not
we did.
efficient enough.
Yeah,
Yep, exactly.
exactly. So that
Yeah.
was
Gotta stay
that
on the
was
conveyor belt, gotta keep going, you know.
I used to think of it. I called it a hamster wheel.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Um, so yeah, that's that hearing people and then moving the energy and then the integration piece, like usually those messages are part of the integration. Yeah, sink into what are those words to use? Get into silence and stillness. And I send out an email, like everybody that I see, I put them on my list and I send out
Hmm.
emails. And I'm always talking about consciousness or talking about stillness or talking about love I mean, those are my kind of my recurrent themes.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean, there's more than that, or sometimes celebrating life. Like I do some kind of March 15th life celebration because I died that day and came back. So
Oh,
That's
wow.
coming up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Ides of
Yeah.
March.
Yes,
How
How
about
many years?
that's the
How
Ides of
many?
March.
How many years has it been? You
24
said
this year?
24.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I
That's
love your
great.
emails.
Well,
Love,
we're glad
love.
glad you came back.
Yeah,
We're glad you're
absolutely.
here.
Well, speaking of love and consciousness, Greg, I read from the link you gave me to a recent art or interview you did with another biofield tuning person about
Telepathy
autism.
tapes?
People, yes,
Yeah,
telepathy tapes and people with autism, and you're starting to lean into that.
yeah.
And I would love to hear more about that, where you're at with that now, what you're experiencing.
So I have a single client that I'm seeing ongoing. He's quite young. He's 4,
Mm.
um,
Mm,
which is I was a school teacher before I went in the Peace Corps,
oh,
learned Spanish, and then came back and became a school teacher because I realized in Peace Corps I was a teacher because I did these workshops where we built clay and sands cook stoves with people.
mm,
And I was like,
mhm.
oh, wow, this is my jam. I like getting in front of people and talking to them and explaining things that are foreign to them, but I can translate, right? Both technically and with language. So I um, the it was interesting back to serendipities. So I some 2 or 3 people had mentioned the telepathy tapes. I said, okay, for crying out loud, I'll listen. So I listened, and then I was in, and I like binged it over the
Yeah.
Yeah.
course of not very long. And so I'm in the midst of that. I'd gone through episodes 1, 2, and 3, maybe 4, and in the midst of that, a mom of a child with autism had reached out,
Mm,
and I was like, how do I do that? Do I do that? And this doubter in me came up, right?
yeah.
The is that part of my business plan? Is that my, is my, is there a, okay. Um, and then I got to episode 5 when the speech pathologist walks in with the kid and sees the bubble floating above him, and he tells her he's going to teach her how to put his soul back together with his body. And
Mm,
I was driving and I had to stop because I
Mhm.
started crying so much, which is happening to me a lot because I'm really like leaning into love, and so my heart's really open, and I'm like, holy, what, what are the what's? And so before I drove away, I texted the mom and said, yeah, okay, let's do this thing, and I built a 30-minute visit, and then I realized, oh, if I want to avail myself to younger people, which I do, why not do 30-minute? And we're not gonna you don't have a big story. Okay, then let's just tune. Get up on my
Mhm.
table and we'll tune. And in his case, it's more of a um, it's more of an experience and experiential. He's up and down off the table and
right.
look at all the my office is, as you saw, rather adult. He actually is of the mind I should put Halloween decorations up and keep them up year round.
That's adorable. Uh,
Which I'm still holding off on, but we'll see if he gets me to sway that way. But the it's really it's really interesting because they perceive the world differently than we do,
you're right. Mhm.
and it's this opportunity both for me to grow as a tuner. Okay, what is it you're experiencing? and and then really it's like with like I had a mentor early on in medicine who said my first job was in pediatrics, and that was my 33 person night. It was a pediatric night,
Yeah, I'm sure.
because you can actually do that reasonably well and fast. Well, he said, Dr. Hawk, he said pediatrics is much like veterinary medicine. And you think the mom is the translator. Here's what I'm seeing. And the patient, well, especially if the patient is not verbal yet, yeah, it's just,
Mhm.
like, and a horse will lean in or they'll back away or like I've had horses don't want anything to do with me. Okay, we're not tuning you today. That's,
Right, exactly.
you
Lean
didn't get
into that
informed consent.
intuition.
I'm not going forward. It's like with kids. How do you get informed consent? They stay on their mom's lap. Then you've got informed consent. You don't put them on a crinkly, sterile table. That's dumb. Then all you have is you deal with crying kids all day. So with the kid with autism, yeah, he's just exploring sound, and
Mm,
he's also leaning in to having bowls on his body or having
Mm.
forks on his head or on his spine, or and he does well. He likes a gong. Somebody likes to ring it really loud. I mean, we're like having this. It's a cooperative venture where he's like, oh, play me. I'll have him play me a song. Play me a song in the bowls, and he will.
Mm.
Or, oh, can we run this down your back? Nope. And he's off. And it's day by day. Some days he's really with me. Other days he's not. And I'm certainly available and leaning into that as an like, it's good. It's good. It's another modality, and it's another
Yeah.
modality for people to like sink
Explore.
into themselves.
But
Yeah.
you also tune mom, is that what I remember reading? And
Yeah.
that really fascinates me because I wonder if you offer tuning to both of them, perhaps maybe even in the same session, as you can do things rather quickly, but then how that could impact their ability to be connecting telepathically.
Or
Yeah.
just connecting in general and
Yeah.
healing in general, because like they're so connected and as one, right? Their fields are so connected. There's nothing more connected than a mom and a child. Like they're intertwined, quantumly entangled forever, right? So if you affect one, you're going to affect the other, and that's just the truth of it. So like I find if you affect the mom, you affect the children a lot, like often. So go ahead.
That right there was part of my hesitance to jump into tuning this. I mean, very young, he's 4, was
Yeah.
because in the biofield tuning world, they're like, well, if you're going to tune a child, tune their parent,
Right.
because that's the where you get the money, really, is
Yep.
tuning the parent, because the parent will actually follow directions, as it were, or the cultural norms is really what it is, and lay on the table and receive, and they can
Yeah.
relax a little more. They
Hmm.
like I used to when I first started, because Dispenza is a big he talks a lot about surrendering,
Mm.
and surrender, and I realized as I started doing this on my own with uninitiated folk, that's too much to ask. You can't ask people to surrender. It's too big. But can you relax 5% more? Or even 3%? Just
Hmm.
relax a little, relax into the next breath and
Mhm.
feel it. And so it's lets them be, and so for parents, like, oh, if they step off the table or out of the session, like nowadays it's me and the child and mom and everybody's getting frequency, and that's like mom will lay on the floor, I'll put bowls on her and I'll ring bowls, and he'll be roaming around and sometimes asking if he can touch or manipulate or whatever, and it's cool. It's and he's starting to learn. Oh, right, I don't throw your crystals around. Yeah, that's probably good because they break.
Oh,
And
that boy on the telepathy tapes who was so in tune with the crystals, that was so interesting to me. And he had like he just was collecting them and collecting all of them, and he's like that was so mind blowing. Sorry, it made me think of
oh
it.
no, right, but and people have, like, I met a woman who has a a rock shop. It isn't a rock
Hmm.
shop. It's fine stuff. And she like intuits things from the rocks, and it's spot on. Like she read some stones for me, and
Mm.
and the rose quartz that I got from her.
Mm.
Wow, it's like no, I go to the gym show now on kind of a regular, like, because it's here in Tucson, and those quartz crystals they're magic. They're
Mhm.
like somebody holds that and they put it on their heart, and they just fill with compassion through this stone. And I don't entirely understand it. I mean, everything has an essence, right? And that
Yeah.
I understand. But wow, it's so powerful. Like, so
Mm.
it makes sense somebody could read that, and somebody with different a different way of seeing things would read it differently. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Greg, do you only do, and obviously you do in person, and that's the most bang for the buck, right? That's the most beneficial. But do you do virtual sessions as well?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
So you can work with me 3 ways. It's either in person individually,
Hmm.
at a distance individually, or in groups, both individually. I guess it's 4 ways:
Mm.
individually or online.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
so, so yeah. And what's interesting, back to the idea of quantum. Okay, we have a field of energy around us. How we look at it in biofield tuning is it extends roughly 5.5 feet outside of you.
Hmm.
Well, what's that touching? What's that field? It's touching the field.
Mhm.
Or I think, Dispenza talks about the void, which
Mhm.
the emptiness that's full of all possibilities. Like we're our energy field is in that all the time. So when I do distance work, I'm tapping into that. And
Mhm.
so, it's interesting. I'm as time, I don't know, maybe time, maybe things are speeding up. Maybe things are with all of it's felt really chaotic. Almost, I would say, since the eclipse last year, or was it last year or year before,
Mhm.
when you all had the retreat, when Jenny had a retreat at Tubac. Um, it felt like since then it's been just really on.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And my group tunings, I don't know when it was, but at some point I started tuning not only the people there, but the collective.
Wow.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it because the collective is like it's I guess through people bleeding into my tuning.
Mhm.
And I'll get into a collective energy of maybe it's sorrow, maybe it's all dissonance, and it all like feels wonky when you put a fork in it, and then it ripples out. I can feel it ripple out when I do the tuning.
Mhm.
So that's the distance thing. It's funny because Eileen and myself were like kind of skeptical, like, dude, this works from a distance. Most of the tunings I get these days are virtual. I'm on my
Mhm.
table and somebody's on Zoom or a phone, and I can't think straight when I get off my table. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I mean, that's really usually what happens with the tuning. You can't, for a little bit, your head's a little woozy because your brain waves are changed because
Mhm.
Mhm.
the frequency, I think you go kind of down towards alpha theta. It's not
Mhm.
hypnosis. I'm not doing hypnosis, but it's kind of akin to that because your brain waves change, and so it takes a minute to get back into functional alpha or alpha beta brainwave state.
Wow. So you
Mhm.
offer those every week, right? A group tuning on Mondays?
Every other week
Every other week.
distance,
Okay. Hmm.
and every other week, yes, every Monday I do have a group tuning. The other ones are in person.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's every other week in person, every other week distance. Yep.
That's so interesting. I wonder how that is, that to feel that everyone in person, and the difference between that and then the virtual, or is it the same kind of experience?
Um, well, yeah. Okay, it can be different. Last night I had a peculiar experience because I went home. I left here because Jenny's away, and so I'm on dog duty. So I'm trying to take care of our baby, and so I went home, and my last client was virtual, so I did that from home, and so then uh, saw him, walked the dog, got some dinner, got on the thing, and I was like, oh, okay. We have all these gongs set up at the house. I have one handheld here. We have four other gongs at the house. So it's like, oh, I'll do some gonging. Do some gonging. The dog likes gonging, so she came in, got gonged, and then I'm sure she saw something. There was probably something in the yard. So she starts losing her mind, and I'm trying to do a tuning, and I'm like, ah, that's really distressing. And so it's not always the same. Back to your question, is it the same? Okay, but when I'm here at my office, yeah, it's pretty much. I do share a wall with um, a place that does. It's like a indoor batting place. So there's sometimes some thumping. It's not a lot, and it's not particularly loud. But that's a little, and that's usually in the evenings that it's going. But they're not banging into my wall. So
Yeah.
there's the occasional here and there. I'll hear
Mhm.
something. Um,
Yeah. It's a
but
different phone on going on at the same time, right? It's like, does that interfere? That was my thought.
well, yeah, right. Well, and I
Mhm.
think there's some real bonus to people just being in their own space.
Yeah.
If it's a safe space, right? If you
Yeah.
can get quiet, get still, be safe, and just go to sleep afterwards, that can be super powerful. Versus having to put yourself together enough to go either get in a car with somebody, and you know move, you know get yourself over to wherever home is, that you gotta package yourself up enough, which I give people a chance afterwards. But so it's different, but it's I feel like people make the claim that it's not as powerful, and I don't know that that's true. I don't find that that's true because what I do, I've had really powerful tunings. I'm pausing because a recollection is coming to me. So I've had a lot of mystical experiences and tunings, soul retrieval and that sort of thing. So that accident I had, Jenny and I had been married 9 months, and the surgeon, I'm like in the back in the ER, and they're I'm sure pumping me full of IV fluids and getting ready to give me a packed red blood transfusion because I was bleeding a lot. The surgeon walks up to Jenny and says, "Okay, I'm going in, and I'm gonna go amputate his left leg below the knee." That was the start of the conversation. That was the start and the end of the conversation. See you in a little bit. And he goes off. Comes out an hour or two late, a couple hours later, and says, "Good news. I haven't had to amputate yet." And that was step two of the conversation. Um, so I'm telling you that because then in a tuning with a colleague that she and I do trades, and we've tuned each other. I don't know if it's a dozen times now, but somewhere between a half dozen and a dozen. Um, I had this realization that leg. So my death experience involved Mother Mary.
Mhm.
She appeared to me like I was out of my body and I was going up to the other beings of light like me. And I was like, hang on, I'm forgetting something. And I look down, and there, 50 or 100 feet below me, is my body. But I'm cradled in a woman's lap, my head is. I'm like, huh. And she looks up, and I know who it is. I know it's Mother Mary. And she communicates telepathically, your place is here, meaning my body, and then shows me it's not going to be fun by a stretch. Just in the like I remember like the chaos and the the emergency workers and such around me. That was how she showed it to me, and then I went back, and that was like it was a pretty short thing. Well, then in this tuning, more recently, I had a realization from while I was in there that foot and leg is still connected to this other dimension. And like I don't know how to describe that, but that's what it feels like. It's like, oh yeah, I've got a foot in this other space, like that would have been amputated but wasn't. And whether that was with the intervention of Mother Mary, whether that was the intervention of Western science, I think yes, I think it's all of those things. That I'm connected across these different planes, which I know it's kind of wild and super out there, but it resonates. It feels real.
Having a foot in both worlds, or planes, it's almost like that helps you make you more amenable to this kind of work, is what I'm thinking, right, Greg? I
Mhm.
mean, really
Mhm.
keeps you open, and you can connect easily to the frequencies. And yeah, I think that's fascinating. Well, I know
Right.
you're offering very graciously, generously to do a little tuning. You've been tuning for the last little while, but to do a tuning for our listeners, for us and our
Yeah.
listeners, yeah. But before we do that, I'm curious about, because I know you're also building a bridge between allopathic and conventional, and that's part of your passion, is to find a way to bridge
Mhm.
these two worlds. But anything you want to say about that, and or any future, like how do you see yourself evolving this over the next many years?
Um, so yeah, it's tricky, the bridge thing. It's not tricky with individuals. A lot of folks come in with an MRI result or here's what my doctor says or and so that's one of the ways and one of the places. Yeah, because I still have a license. Now, I don't practice medicine. I say, "Oh, well this is what this and this and that means and you got to check back in with your doctor." Sometimes have I've found myself in the unfortunate circumstance of making the diagnosis for people of terrible things that they have since passed away from because their primary care gave them a referral to a colorectal surgeon and they had colon cancer according to the results. But they didn't even say it. They didn't even talk to him. All they said was, "Here's your referral." Yeah, the Western medical system is, and that's not the only. I mean, that's just one of many. I mean, there's so many places where it's glaringly broken. Like, like the job of a primary care person is to be reassuring and to tell you what's going on. That,
Right.
at least that was how I understood it, and that's what I took on when I did it. And when I do it, I still, like sometimes people they consult with me about, well, what do I do, because I don't want to do the allopathic thing, and I can help orient you. And here's the don't stop go don't collect $200, go to the ER point. Like I and so that's part of my bridge, because I see both. Like, yeah, energy is good, but like when I had my injury, I want to be at the trauma center.
Yeah,
I don't want to
absolutely.
go to
Right.
the Reiki practitioner, because they're not
No,
going to inject diddly for my leg. Like, no,
no,
like afterwards, yeah, sure, but not during. Like within the
no.
first few months of recovery, I saw a craniosacral therapist. That's the best I felt in a long time when I stepped off our
Mhm.
table. It was amazing. And I had a whole lot of intervention leading up to that. My body had done a lot of healing.
We need acute emergency care. I mean, it's a necessary thing, right? We can't
Yes.
Energy can't fix everything, right? We need
Yep.
that. It's life-saving in the crucial moments that we need it, right?
Yes.
So
Trauma surgeons.
we have to have this, we can't have this like black and white thinking, right? It has to be an area
Yep.
of gray, right? In between of like when to play to the strengths of the different modalities that we have available to us, right? And yeah, if you are having a life or death situation, yes, please take me to the acute trauma session that can save my life, right? But if you're dealing with like chronic pain that's not subsiding and you can't, you can't just stay on painkillers. You need to go fix the root cause of why that you're having that. That's
Bingo.
it's like, yeah.
Yes, and yeah, and so back to your question, Heather, like, how do you make the bridge? Well, it's yes and, right?
Yeah.
Their energy, because yeah, I mean, I think about when I've done a lot of suturing. What do you do when you suture somebody? You approximate the edges. I've
Mhm.
written every suturing note, edges approximated, and 560 Prolene sutures placed. That's the note, but it's approximating the edges, and then the body takes over and does its thing. It heals itself, because that's really what's
Mhm.
happening ultimately,
Right.
and that's where medicine, the rest of medicine, the thinking that there's a pill for every ill medicine, they or that I mean, I think a thing I love about what you all are doing with the quantum business is we aren't just biochemistry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We aren't just um, physics. There's a quantum aspect to us, which brings me to the final thing you asked, which was what's the future? Okay, I'm getting this thing is taken off, and it's getting full to the point it's like, oh, cool, okay, I'm gonna be have as many people as I want and be booked out as far as I want. And there's this other idea bubbling in me. It's called the sound chamber,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be a frequency medicine um, salon that you come in, you scan your card that allows you access, and that's you get however many you pay for a month, and there's
Mhm.
going to be somebody playing gongs. And if you want to do individual sessions, that's whatever. Oh yeah, there's going to be some practitioners there and but there'll be this frequency in the main room, and you can have rooms off of it, and
Mhm.
you'll be getting dosed with frequency. And if you want to go lay on get some red light therapy, okay. If you want to, yeah, so
Oh,
that's
I love that. It's like, so
Okay.
is it like instead of going to the gym, you have a membership for the frequency salon and you
Frequency
can
healing.
get you can get a session of whatever frequencies you are wanting. Oh my God, that's amazing.
so
Sounds
that's
great.
that's what's bubbling. It's I don't know how it's going to go yet, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm how do I scale this? Okay, there's a way. And rather than just an individual session at 2:30 on Mondays, it's, oh yeah, we have, Monday through Friday, 1 to 4 or whatever, or varying times for different people that work and all that, that they can come in and, oh, I want a gong bath today. Okay, there's always a gong bath going during these hours, and having practitioners gonging, and yeah.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Sounds awesome.
All
So
right.
shall we
So,
do a little tuning?
yes.
We're
A little
ready.
more official? Okay, I'm gonna turn my computer over
Mhm.
towards the table. Oh, and yeah, I'll turn it. I'm gonna mic myself up differently than I have right now. And I'll get some sound going with the gong. So what I want everybody to do is to come into your breath. Before I really start, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It continues to be a pleasure.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I just wanna say, and I really do want to put on my mic because you'll get better sound that way. And it wasn't convenient before. It's not really convenient now, but it wasn't convenient before. So now start noticing your breath. Notice if you're breathing fast or slow, shallow or deep, or tense or relaxed with your breath. And as you notice, bring your breath down into your belly. And take a breath right down deep into your belly. And will you all tell me if the sound is working once I switch over?
Mhm.
Is it good? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Another breath into the belly. Buddha breath, puffing your belly out. Let your gaze soften. And bring yourself into just a little bit more relaxation. As you have thoughts, let your thoughts come over to the sound. Connect yourself to the earth through your root chakra. You can do this by dropping a cord from your root down into the earth. And then breathe out right down into your grounding cord. And I'm just going to do a little tuning on the central channel. So I'm coming down to what we call the Earth Star, which is the lower end of your central channel, part of your energy flow. Remember to breathe, everybody. Let your awareness drift now. And stay with the sound. When you hear me breathing, it's a reminder for you to breathe and release. Now I'm turning the fork and spiraling energy up the central channel. And as this energy spirals up the central channel, I'm infusing it with equanimity, with calm, with discernment. And as the energy reaches the crown chakra, it bursts forth as a whale spout and cascades down around the field, and back in below the feet, coming back into its vital, vibrant flow. And now grounding the feet, I'll move up to the head. And again, as you have thoughts, let them come back to the sound or back to your breath. If you have feelings come up, feel your feelings. Metabolize those emotions. And allow them to transform. I mention that because I just felt some sadness. It's like a deep grief and sorrow. So just feel it. And let it transform. Now spiraling energy down through the central channel, moving from head to feet, through and past each of the chakras. If you notice the fork changing tone, that could be because it's in a bit of dissonant energy. So we'll ring it there a few more times until it comes back to its vibrant tone. A breath, always a nice exhale, facilitates that. Remember to have a nice big exhale. I'll now bring a weighted fork to the solar plexus and make figure eights around the field in order to contain it. You'll hear the fork activating on my belt. And connecting thy will to divine will. And cocooning your field. An energy filled with peace and beatitude. And acceptance of all the other ways of being in the world. And as you hear the sound of the chimes, gently notice the chair or bed beneath you. Notice your breath in your body. Notice your fingers and toes and your awareness returning. And gently bring your awareness to your fingers and toes and wiggle them. And come back to this time and place. And come back. And gently make your way back. And come back.
Wow, Greg, thank you so much.
Yeah, what a beautiful gift for our listeners. That was amazing.
So that's a taste of what I do.
Yeah.
That was a little shorty, huh?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Yeah, amazing. Mm.
Wow. Is that your first sound bath, Vanessa?
I had a Tibetan bowl one time I done it. I tried it many, many years ago, back before I like understood all this stuff, but yeah. Mm.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
very cool.
I find sound is so, A, it's relaxing, and B, it just brings us home, like right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, if people are interested and want to check out, yeah, usually the ones I do on Mondays, those are it's about there's probably 45 minutes of tuning. I'll
Mm.
sometimes talk a little bit if it's kind of new people to sound. I don't do exactly biofield tuning. I don't do I do my own like I don't know if there's anybody else who uses a gong that I know of
Mm.
during their sessions. I was like, wow, this thing is cool. It hangs conveniently on the headrest. So the cool thing about in person is you lay there and you feel it vibrate the table, and so it comes
Yeah.
into you.
Right. That's like
And
when I did the bowls, you feel it, like, because you put the bowls on you. So when you hit
yes,
the bowl, then you feel the vibration like through your body. So,
these bowls I've got are vibrational bowls and not just singing bowls, and
Mm.
they're heavy and they ring a long time. So you get dosed with vibration and frequency. It's super
pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Mm. Pretty
So
cool.
thanks so much. That was such a fun conversation.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
had a
having
great
me.
time. We really appreciate you coming on and giving that gift to us and the listeners. It was amazing, Greg. Thank you so much.
Where can people find you?
My website for now is it's www.heartspacewellness dot oh gosh dot live live. Sorry, I was like, I have another one that's coming, and it'll all connect. But
Dot
it's
live. It's dot
dot
live
live,
or
You will
live.
put it in the
like
show notes
live
for people.
right.
So you're building a
Uh,
new website, it sounds like.
I am, yeah, I just went in, I paid some money, and I'm gonna build it, and I paid some money for some helping me through the techie bits of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I hear you.
And it's cool because you outgrow that was my first little launch attempt, and it's like, okay, that was fine, but now yeah, it's time to grow.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. Sign up for
Super.
Greg's newsletter, everyone, to get his wisdom every week and love. Highly, highly recommend. And then if you want to start off maybe with a Monday group tuning, to
Yeah,
dip into it if you're new to sound medicine. I mean, I think everybody needs it. Everybody needs it and has to experience it. So
Thanks so
absolutely.
much. Yeah, agreed. Thank you all.
thank you,
That
Thank
was so
Greg.
you.
fun.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a great day.